always suspected that my father was harmed in some way. In any case, he was gone.
I felt a pinch, like in the bottom of my neck and my shoulder, and I had a shiver that came through me that I have never experienced before. And I was so scared that I told my mom at that time, I said, "Mom, if you're anywhere here, please do not show up."
My father and I were always very close. He used to call me his little princess. We had a very caring, loving relationship. We didn't often say the words, "I love you." We just knew that it was very much there. My father was a very dynamic personality. He was a very successful man. He had such a zest for life and such a passion.
There's no bond like the one between a parent and a child. It transcends time and place. Some say it can even transcend death. And sometimes it has to, because the child left behind still needs their dead parent. Hello, I'm Lawrence Chow. Today in Ghostly Encounters, we meet Sharon and Nadine, two women who believe their parents reached out from beyond the grave to keep guiding and loving them. Sharon Banks was her daddy's little girl. When he died in a mysterious accident, she was so overcome with grief, she could barely function. But then she believes her dead father stepped in to help.
My father had gone out on the cruiser on his own. My mother had the ship-to-shore radio plugged in at the cottage, and she heard my father screaming over the ship-to-shore radio, "Mayday, mayday, mayday." She immediately called the authorities, the Coast Guard, the police, neighbors, whoever, and they conducted a search immediately. They found the boat in the bay. It was Long Point Bay on Lake Erie. They found the cruiser, but they didn't find my father. When they found the cruiser, it was going around in circles. Actually, another boater spotted it and reported it. The boat was going in circles because my father had tied the aerial of the boat around the steering wheel. There was a big, long, huge investigation into this. I've always believed that something unnatural happened to him. Someone hurt him. In any case, he was gone. 7 days later, divers found his body. Then came the funeral. I suppose I maybe didn't accept that my father was gone. For one thing, I never saw his body. It was a closed casket. And for another, I just couldn't believe that he could be taken from us like that. I believe I became quite anxious. I believe I likely suffered from some form of maybe a complicated grief or depression. I just could not believe he was gone. My father was, to me, the most wonderful man that ever walked the face of this earth. My father always looked very, very businesslike. Even at the beach, even when we went out on the boat. He always wore a white shirt, a tie. He was high energy, I'd say a driven man. My dad owned his own business. He was very, very successful, so I was extremely, extremely proud of my father. And with my first paycheck, I went out and bought the entire family, you know, some clothes. I was proud of myself. And I bought my father a plaid shirt. It had very small checks in it. And gee, wonder if Dad'll wear this, because all he ever wears is white, and I'm sick of it. And he was so proud of that shirt. I don't think he ever took it off. Very wonderful man with great sense of values. Family was the most important thing to him. When I was 26, I got married. We bought a house. And one night in the house, I'd say this would be about 1978. I was asleep in bed. I heard a knock at our back door. I thought, who on earth could be at the door? It's after 2 in the morning. I went to the back door and I opened the door. And my father was standing there. My father passed away very suddenly and, in my opinion, somewhat mysteriously. The official cause of death was deemed to be drowning. I've always suspected that my father was harmed in some way and that I've never, ever believed that he took his own life, ever. I continued basically obsessing about his death. I couldn't come to terms with it. I would automatically imagine the worst and imagine terrible things happening. I would even imagine that in my own personal life. Things like, oh, I'll never succeed. Or, oh, you know, I'm not going to get that job. There just seemed to be so many unanswered things in my life at that time. One night I was sleeping. I heard a knock at our back door. I thought it was pretty strange. And I thought, who on earth could be at the door? It's after 2 in the morning, but I opened the door. And my father was standing there. I was so joyful, just ecstatic. I said, oh, thank God you're here. You're not dead. I knew you weren't dead. Oh, I cannot even explain the feeling that overcame me. He walked into the kitchen. I ran to him and he put his hand up like this. And he said, no, you can't come any closer to me. I am dead, Sharon. But I need you to know that I'm okay. I'm at peace. Now you need to be at peace. And I said, well, Dad, at least take off your coat. You're dripping wet. And he said, Sharon, I have to go, but be at peace, be at ease. I'm okay. And he took a couple of steps because he was just inside our back door. And he stepped out onto the deck. And he disappeared. He totally disappeared. I thought he was on the water. He was on the water when he was taken from me. It's probably why he was as soaked as he was.
The mystery behind the death of Sharon's father remains, and so does his impact on her, both alive and dead. Our experts tell us that traditionally ghosts who died violently, like Sharon's father, might come back one time to resolve something. In Sharon's case, it might be her grief, which would have been like an endless scream of agony to him. His daughter was crying out for help, and Sharon believes her father answered the call.
For a lot of people, they didn't think I would turn out being the person that I am today. I stayed with my mom until I was about 2 years old. And then after that, I went on a a long journey.
Like Sharon, Nadine Lavoie has a close bond with a parent. After growing up in foster care, Nadine didn't get to know her mother until she was older. But when she did, the two shared a special relationship, one that Nadine says continued even after her mother died before her time.
The relationship with my mom, because I haven't had a chance really to grow up with her, it was really difficult. By the age of 18, which is the legal time, I guess, in Quebec, it was time for me to go and move by myself and have my own place. I was just tired of always being mad and being pissed and having this emotion inside me all the time. As I was, I guess, understanding more her emotions as well and the challenge that she's been going through as a young mom at the time, I kind of felt that it was okay to start to learn to forgive and hopefully build a different kind of relationship. It's either I'm going to be mad at her for the rest of my life and keep carrying this burden, or I'm going to learn to understand and forgive and love, and eventually, you know, we can actually have a relationship. That was the choice that I've made. I said, you know what? I need to get to know my mother, kind of start fresh, forgive everything that had happened, and try and build a new relationship. Eventually, something happened where she was diagnosed with lung cancer. My mom went to the hospital and they entered the palliative care. There was a very strong desire and wish that I had in my heart and in my soul. I did not want for her to be alone. I wanted her to know that she was loved and that she was not alone. Her fiancé, that she was really in love with, a wonderful man that was really caring and was with her. So I've decided to stay at the hospital to sleep there. I was sleeping in the room in the middle of the night. She had woke up and she was in panic, total panic, because she couldn't breathe. I was sleeping in the room in the middle of the night. My mom woke up and she was in panic, total panic, because she couldn't breathe. So I go to reach her and try and perhaps fix her pillow so she's more comfortable. So I'm holding her in my arms. I start to feel a little bit of a weight, and I notice that the tips of her finger are starting to change color. At that moment, as I was holding her, I knew that she was dying in my arms. To me, it was as if her soul passed through me, because I was right above her and holding her. It's like her last breath could be felt. I just put my cheek next to her cheek, and I started talking to her and thanking her for everything that she has done. It's almost as you feel like you're near the entrance of the door, but you're not going any further. It's not your path yet. I really wanted her not to be alone on that last moment. And I have never told her that, actually, but it was something that I really strongly wanted. And for it to actually happen this way, it was like a prayer was answered for me. I always said my mom was a disco queen. She just loved disco. And it was part of the discussion before she had passed that she wanted to have disco music to be playing in the funeral home where she would be shown. So you can imagine the people walking and hearing Donna Summers and the Bee Gees playing in the background. It was just really unconventional, but that was my mom. They gave me all my mom's belonging, and there was this one ring that I've decided to keep with me and cherish it because it was what she called her engagement ring that was provided to her by the love of her life, the last man she was with. And it meant a lot to her. And I've decided I was going to keep the ring as a nice souvenir and as a symbol of the love that she had with him. So we go with the burial and the church service and everything, and then we go into the cemetery to bury my mom. At some point, I felt a voice inside my head that basically made me feel and tell me that she wanted her ring back. This was hers. It was something that meant a lot to her, and she wanted to have it back. So I went back to the cemetery and I decided to give her back her ring. And so I dig in the dirt where she is buried. The only presence I was really feeling was the fact that she had asked me to return the ring. So it was the voice, I guess, in my head. Then I felt the relief. That's something that I did feel when I finished giving her back her ring. I felt good. I just felt like it was the right thing. I felt a thank you. I felt, I guess, a moment of happiness within me of doing that, of returning the ring. The next step is now to go to the apartment to clean her belongings, to give away to charity. My mom was living with a fiancé at the time, and he tells me, Nadine, this is so bizarre. I've been dreaming about your mom. And I'm like, okay. And she woke me up. I'm like, she woke you up? She's like, yes. She actually tickled my feet, and she woke me up. Apparently, she spoke to him and kind of guided him to go and find something in the drawer. There, all of her sweaters are folded nicely, and then in one of her favorite sweater, it opens up, and there it shows me the ring. And I was so scared that I told my mom at that time, I said, Mom, if you're anywhere here, please do not show up, because I'm gonna pass out. I cannot deal with anything like that. I just kind of felt that voice inside me that I needed to tell him something. I felt a pinch, like in the bottom of my neck and my shoulder, and I had a shiver that came through me that I've never experienced before. My whole spine. I knew at that time that was her way of communicating with me. She wanted him to have that ring, not me. It's a symbol of your love, and she wants you to keep this ring. And now she's confirming that this is exactly what she wants. There was always a little something special after that I always felt that my mom was around. Years goes by, and then I went one day to visit her at the cemetery as I was visiting the Gaspé area. As I was walking towards where my mom's buried, I noticed that there was a beautiful pink rose on top of where she's buried. And I knew from the voice again inside of me that this was a rose that she was giving me. I remember laying there that day and listening to disco music and just spending time with my mother.
Nadine believes her mother had many ways of showing her love, even after she died. It's not surprising a ring figured prominently in her story. After all, there's no stronger symbol of the bond of love. Our experts remind us that in folklore, the idea of a magic ring is ancient and has been retold often, most recently in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Sharon's father was there her whole life, and as far as she's concerned, he was still there when she needed him most to get over his death. Both Sharon and Nadine still cling to their parental bonds, but because of the ghostly guidance they say they received, they are both able to move on, enjoy life, and rest easy in the knowledge they have parents who love them, in death as in life.
my father appearing to me helped immensely. In fact, what it did is it truly allowed me to begin the grieving process, in my opinion. Up until that time, I don't think I had even cried. And now I could deal with the grief and deal with the knowledge that he's okay.
I'm really thankful that we were able to be in peace with each other because I had learned to forgive and to appreciate who she was. And I can feel this love is just carrying on with me to this day and probably for a long time ahead.